said she was gonna run, I was absolutely thrilled, because I knew Phil King. I'd worked on the railroad with him, and then I knew him as a state representative, and when I was with Congressman Breckinridge, and when I was president of the student body up there, and he came to me and said he was gonna introduce the legislation to get the Democrats lined up. That was a big plus. And then they just made the decision to bring it to Campbell County, and that was a big, huge plus for Campbell County, and has been and will continue to be. Back in those days, only 33% of our students went on to get a 4-year degree. The rest of the state, 50%. Because we didn't have that 4-year college other than the private school at Greatman Thomas More. But we didn't have that public school where the locals could go to school instead of having to take off for Lexington or Louisville or Western Kentucky. Now we have that, and look how it's grown. And look what it's meant to Campbell County. Talk a little bit about, as county judge, what
it
that's
isn't
meant
just
to
Campbell County, it's also Northern Kentucky,
And
I know you know
Cincinnati.
that, and Cincinnati. The kids that go to Northern are there in numbers that are roughly proportional to the populations of the counties in the area. So it isn't just Campbell County kids, it's a larger population. And I would tell you that while the airport is the big engine for economic success in Northern Kentucky, and the most obvious of the powers that shape our economy, because you can say, well, you know, there are 100,000 jobs in the area that are affected in some way, and maybe 30,000 jobs directly attributable to the airport and all the associated business that's decided to locate in the area because of the quality and the reach of our airport. All those things are true, but quietly, the second most powerful force in the Northern Kentucky economy is NKU. There's 16,000 kids there.
That's
And
right.
a succession of presidents, particularly Dr. Vitruva, asked the question of the community, what do you need from this university? And the answer was, we need economic development. So one of the things that I'm happiest that I did in my career as a judge executive is appoint Jim Vitruva to the board at Triad. And he heard firsthand when we had an outfit called Angelo Economics come in and do targeted industry analysis for Triad. He heard firsthand how we were recruiting industries into the area according to our strengths and weaknesses. We would select target industries, and Dr. Vitruva's reaction to that situation was to say to himself, we need to support the targeted industries and the industry that we're trying to attract into Northern Kentucky, find out the kind of learning that is required for people who are going to work in these industries, and provide the diplomas and the people that are going to populate those industries. So what we try to do, all of us, and this is another area that proves what cooperation can do for you in Northern Kentucky, is create sort of a virtuous loop or feedback loop where you know, our economic developers are out here trying to bring business into the area. Our educational institutions, not just NKU, but NKU is the biggest number of students. They're all trying to, right, they're trying to provide the workforce need for our targets. The informatics college at NKU was a direct offshoot of this kind of thinking, and the Gateway, and then the Health Innovation Center at NKU the same way. We've got an industry cluster here for healthcare that needs well-trained people, and so the whole thing starts to fit together. You can see how it would work. We have targets. We're trying to supply workers. We go to the sanitation district and the water district and talk to their boards about seeing to it that the infrastructure's in place, or you go to OKI for transportation links, and you try to provide and build an ecosystem for the businesses that you're attracting into the area. Triad's been the most successful economic development outfit in the state and is recognized as such, with something like 67,000 primary industry jobs having been created or attracted into our area over the course of its existence, and $10 billion of investment. It's because, not just because of Triad, it's because everybody else in the community is working for the same goal. And what's the result of all of it, besides the direct benefits that somebody would see, that you can get a job right here in the community that's satisfying work and well paid? The community benefits because there's wealth created, and you know, if a government is going to try to provide the infrastructure, and the government has something to do with the quality of life, it's only because the wealth got created in the community that through taxes gets translated into some of the public amenities and the private amenities as well.
So that the culture follows.
Right, and so again, it's this virtuous cycle that everybody is aware of, understands their role in, and participates.
That's right, collaboration, and particularly even with your unions and organizations such as KEA and your labor unions working, and I know that you work with them. A lot of people think unions are just to represent the workers. Unions do far more than that. I've had my experiences with unions, and you want them on the team.
Right.
And you want them to be helpers, and you want to make sure that your interest is their interest, because their interest is good paying jobs, protection, benefits, and safety.
Right.
And
government workers are, for the most part, unionized.
Yeah.
And we've never had a problem.
It's working together
With them.
That's
right.
the key thing, what you can do and what you can't
And
do.
transparency is key.
And transparency.
Show them your books and what you have to share, and
where you're gonna get the funds to do the things that need to be done. And that's one of the key things right now across the whole state is the pension thing, and what to do and how to do that, and how to long-term fund it. And I think the governor is at least making efforts to try to do some of that, but it's a tough thing to do.
well, the thing that this is a perfect example of what happens when people kick the can down the road in something like this. Everybody, as part of home economics, ought to learn about compounding interest, right?
Right.
And what happens if you let a financial situation worsen over a long period of time, something that you could have painlessly fixed 20 years ago becomes a crisis so severe because no one's dealt with it, that enormous sacrifices need to be made. And that's where our state is with the pension crisis, and where our federal government is with Social Security, Medicare, and the national debt. We could have made just small, painless changes, had people foresight, but no, we had to put it off, and everybody.
Well, an old man who you will probably remember, I remember as a young boy riding in the car with him. He was another one of those that ran statewide that didn't make it. But I was riding in the car with him, and he was helping out a fellow by the name of Bert T. Combs, run for governor. And his name was Otwell Rankin, CPA. And I asked him, I said, Mr. Rankin, tell me what you think about our party, the Democratic Party, or both parties, the Republican Party, and what your greatest fears are. And he looked and he said, I thought that was a serious question for a young man. And he said, well, I'll tell you what my greatest fear is. He says, that is when people recognize that they can vote themselves benefits, right, and pay for them later, or hope to pay for them later, and they find out they can vote themselves benefits and just vote ourselves into a situation where we can't sustain the benefits. He said, that's my greatest fear. And today we sit with probably about $22 trillion in national debt.
Right.
And we're looking at a world, and I know you look at this too, we're looking at a world that is frankly um, always in danger, because not only do we have nuclear bombs, but our opponents or adversaries have nuclear bombs. And like your county judge that has to diffuse situations and deal with situations, our president has to deal with situations and diffuse them. And there is no easy solutions to all these problems, because they all boil down to who's got what, and the haves and the have-nots of the world. And so I think that we all as citizens have a duty to vote, to exercise our vote, to do it intelligently. This is a democratic republic we live in, as a government teacher, I would say. And I always taught my government students in advanced government, the rights we have, we abuse, we tend to lose, and the rights we have, we fail to use, we tend to lose. And we have, in this last primary, in some counties, less than 10% people voting.
Yeah, it's embarrassingly bad.
It's embarrassingly sad, actually, but part of it is why are we doing this show? Educate people a little bit, regardless of who you vote for. And opposition isn't necessarily evil or bad. It's good to have debating ideas and debating thoughts, but do away with the personal attacks. Make your case with your policies, with your thoughts, and with your ideas. You think that's right?
Absolutely. And you said a whole series of things that I hope I can remember to touch upon. First being, you talk about the United States and our posture in the world, and I think it is clear that our best defense against a threatening world is to have the strongest economy in the world.
Absolutely.
Because that enables us to pay for the things that protect us. It's a little like the local government analogy I was giving you, where we attract business, we have a good economy, and we're gonna have a high quality of life as a result of that, right? Same goes on the national level. You talked about the insight that you had from a politician about the danger comes when people realize they can vote themselves benefits without having to pay for them anytime soon, right? Well, there are two theories about representation that I hear espoused, so far as your government representatives go. One is the theory that you ought to reflect the will of the people, and that's your job as their representative. The other is a theory that, while it respects that obligation to represent the people, sees that there's an obligation to lead, because people aren't always going to be as attuned to the facts as the person whose job it is to get into that, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So shouldn't there be an additional responsibility for those people? And I would tell you that we need to develop an ethic where our politicians are willing occasionally to sacrifice their political life if necessary, almost like a military thing. We ask people to go fight and die to defend our freedoms, and freedom's not free, right? There's
Right.
sacrifice associated with it. There should be an ethic created around political service the same way. Like somebody in politics is obligated to lead, and they ought to be willing to lay down their political life for something that's important. And I don't see that. And I would tell you that if you occasionally take a stand and show that leadership potential, you'll be respected for it. And in the end, I think you have a better chance of staying in office than if you just slavishly reflect, what people want without thinking about it very much, right? I don't know if I'm getting this across very well.
Yeah, you're doing an excellent job.
But that's what we need to look for in our public officials, and that's what we most need. Now, having said that, whether Matt Bevan has done a great job of communicating about the pension plan problem or not, and he did say some things that were completely unnecessary where teachers are concerned that, that approach was not good. But the fundamental thing is the pension system must be reformed. I mean, it threatens to crowd out all other expenditures in state and local government. So we're not going to be able to provide what we used to unless you know, there are huge tax increases. He's got the right idea, and we all have to give him that and support him in it.
Well, that's totally true, and you're absolutely right. As the smallest member of our bodies is our tongue. And trust me,
Yeah.
I got a big body.
Yeah, that's fine.
And taming the tongue is never easy. It's and in politics, it can get you into trouble. It can get you in trouble as a comedian, as we see with all these comedians. And today, you can get in trouble quicker than you think, because we live in this politically correct society that I think sometimes we need to look back and say, now hold on a minute. There's right, there's wrong, and we need to look at what's right. And who says what's right? Well, not necessarily me. Out there in front of me is the Bible. And the reason I put the Bible out there, a lot of people ask me, John, why do you have governors and senators, presidents sign your Bible? I told Reverend Jones this down at Fancy Farm Picnic. I said, because I want them to know, while I'm sitting on this stage with them, and they're in leadership, that that's the most important book in the world. And if you study it, if you follow it, and listen to the knock on the door and invite God in, you'll practice godly principles. And on my Facebook page, under John Stephenson, friend me out there, folks. I always try to end with praise the Lord and pass the ammunition of godly principles and love. The greatest gift God gave us is a gift of love. And in with our tongue, that smallest member of our bodies, try to use it to promote good, to give a lift up. Steve, that's something you've done, as people could hear today, all your life. Give a lift up. And I'm proud of what you've done in Campbell County. I'm thrilled that I married June Diamond Stephenson from Campbell County, and she has all that Diamond family over there. My goodness gracious sakes alive, every time you turn a rock over in Campbell County, you find another Diamond Guyman.
Probably takes them all to keep you under control. Every last one of them.
And she said, now, you know, she graduated from Northern.
Mm-hmm.
I had to, since I was in '68 and there was no four-year public school, I had to go down and finish up at UK. And, but she graduated from Northern, so I got to take advantage of it. Is there anything closing here? We've covered a lot of topics, and I'm thrilled to have you on the show. Are you ready? And I don't know if anybody else in the world is ready more than you are. I don't say anything disrespectful about anybody in the races either, because you got a county commissioner that's running against you, a friend of mine also, good man. And but you put your ideas out there, your philosophies, and you let the people decide. Go on your record. And Gary put in a good plug for you the other night when he was on here, and he put in, of course, now Knockelman over there in Kenton County, I don't know how he did it, but he has no opposition. He's a good fellow though, isn't he?
He's great.
Yeah, he is. Well, all three of you
Fun
are
to work with.
doing a good job for Northern Kentucky. Is there anything, final thing you'd like to say to the folks out here before I close?
Well, I always come back to the same place when I talk about the future of Northern Kentucky. Working together works. And it's our great virtue here. And when the time comes for us to sit down together and imagine a better future, there'll be 400 people in the room doing it. And there is a place at the table for anybody who wants to be involved. There are all kinds of community organizations. All the organizations, for instance, that are involved in combating heroin and drug abuse problems, there are hundreds of people involved in that. We're not getting all the results we want to yet, but I can tell you for the past so many years, there have been hundreds of people that expressed their concern and found ways to get involved. And whatever your issue happens to be in Northern Kentucky, you can find a way to be influential in it and work for something that is meaningful to you and your family's future. And I encourage everybody to pitch in and go for it.
Fantastic. Well, we want to let you know that on Are You Ready? Next week we'll have on, I believe our judge that we're gonna have on next week is Judge Stephen P. Woods from down in Grant County. He'll be on. Now, he didn't run for re-election, so this will be his last term, and they've got some good candidates down there running, and I'll probably maybe have him on before the fall election. But we'll have him on to look at the history and where he thinks the county's going. And I just wanted to close today because since Terry Jolly is gonna have the ceremony tonight, I will close this out here, and you can take us off the air in there, Miss June, with me singing. Oh, the sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the children at play. The corn top's ripe, and the meadows are in bloom, and the birds make music all the day. Weep no more, my ladies, oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home, far away. Oh, the children rode on the little cabin floor, all merry, all happy and bright. By and by, hard times comes a knocking at the door, then my old Kentucky home says good night. Weep no more, my ladies, oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home, far away. God bless you, and God bless America, and God bless Steve Pendery, Judge Executive, Campbell County,
It's
Kentucky.
been fun.
God bless you.
Thank you. So we're good, huh? All right.
Shut the camera off there too, hon.